The landing platform shuddered, split with a metallic groan, and consumed 2 drones before sealing again. Ethan stared at the black ground, then at the surviving machine. "Write unstable geology in the report," he said. It beeped. "And delete the part where I screamed." Beyond the platform rose the mountains of Karos, where an ancient defense network slept beneath crystal and iron. Ethan had been sent to wake it before the planetary shield collapsed. The machines were 10,000 years old, temperamental, and possibly alive, still easier than management. A military convoy carried him toward the northern generator. The road collapsed beneath an armored transport. Warning lights flashed as the vehicle tilted toward a ravine. Then someone stepped from the snow. She was enormous. The alien woman stood nearly 3 meters tall in silver-black armor scarred by battle. Her face appeared human, elegant and severe, but long pointed ears swept back through dark hair. She planted both hands beneath the falling transport and lifted. Soldiers scrambled free while she held several tons above her shoulders as casually as a table. When the last passenger escaped, she shoved the carrier onto solid ground. Blue light pulsed across her armor. She turned toward Ethan. Her golden eyes narrowed. "You are the human engineer." Ethan glanced at the rescued soldiers. "That depends. Are you planning to lift me too?" The woman remained solemn, though her mouth twitched. "I am General Lysera Vale." Snow clung to her long ears, and a narrow scar crossed her cheek. She looked carved from legend. The words escaped before caution could stop them. "You're beautiful." Silence struck the pass. Even the mountain wind held its breath. Every soldier froze. One dropped his rifle. Another pressed a fist to his chest. Then the convoy erupted into cheers. Ethan blinked. "What did I say?" Lysera studied him, surprise becoming amusement. "You spoke before witnesses." "Yes, humans do that." "You praised my beauty in the warrior's form." "I used 2 words. 2 are sufficient." A soldier hurried forward with a ceremonial banner. It opened in the wind, displaying 2 interlocked silver moons. Lysera stepped close enough that Ethan had to lean back. "Then you will marry me," she said. Ethan looked at the cheering soldiers and the drone beside his head. "Delete the whole day," he whispered. The drone beeped twice. It had already transmitted the footage to the royal palace. Ethan spent the next 20 minutes insisting there had been a misunderstanding. The next 20 minutes were spent watching absolutely nobody believe him. "I was giving a compliment," he explained for what felt like the 100th time. An elderly officer nodded respectfully. "A very sincere proposal." "No, not a proposal, a compliment." "Yes," the officer agreed, "a traditional proposal." Ethan rubbed his forehead. "Those are 2 completely different things." "To humans," Lysera replied calmly. She walked beside him through the mountain fortress, her armored footsteps echoing through halls carved directly into blue crystal. Every guard they passed bowed deeply, then smiled at Ethan with the sort of admiration usually reserved for heroes who had survived impossible battles. One young soldier whispered. "He proposed to the general without even trembling." Another answered, a fearless male indeed. "I was terrified," Ethan muttered. "You concealed it well," Lysera said. "I wasn't concealing it. My brain simply stopped working." For the first time she laughed. It wasn't loud. Just a brief, warm sound that transformed her stern expression completely. "So humans lose brain function before proposing." "Only the smart ones." Her lips curved again. The fortress doors opened onto a massive chamber overlooking the snowy valley. Floating holograms projected ancient satellites orbiting the planet. More than half flashed crimson. Ethan immediately forgot his embarrassment. "The defense network is failing faster than I expected." Lysera's expression became serious once more. "Every month another orbital guardian goes silent. We replace components, reroute energy, repair everything we can. Yet the failures continue." Ethan stepped closer to the holographic display. "These satellites aren't simply breaking down. You already know. They're losing synchronization." He pointed toward several blinking nodes. Something is interrupting communication between the stations. Machines this advanced don't all fail randomly. Engineers gathered around him, surprised that the human understood technology built thousands of years before either civilization existed. One technician asked cautiously, "Can you repair it?" "I don't know yet." The technician frowned. "You speak honestly. It's cheaper than pretending." Several engineers exchanged confused looks. Lysera tilted her head. Human humor. "I hope so." Before anyone could continue, bright alarms erupted across the chamber. Every hologram shifted from red to deep violet. A mechanical voice echoed through the fortress. "Unknown signal detected beneath Generator Complex 7. The room fell silent. One elderly scientist whispered, "Impossible. Nothing has moved beneath the generators for 8 centuries. Ethan zoomed in on the signal. The energy pattern pulsed with mathematical precision. It wasn't an earthquake. It wasn't equipment failure. Something beneath the mountain had just awakened. Lysera rested one hand on the hilt of the enormous sword across her back. "The council will insist our engagement ceremony begins tomorrow." Ethan stared at the underground signal. "I'd really prefer to investigate the mysterious ancient machine that's waking up." She nodded thoughtfully. "So would I." He looked at her. "You would." The machine sounds considerably less complicated than marriage. For the first time since arriving on Karos, Ethan realized the giant alien warrior with the long ears might be the only person on the planet who understood exactly how ridiculous this situation had become. The descent into Generator Complex 7 began before sunrise. An enormous freight elevator carried Ethan, Lysera, 6 engineers, and a squad of armored soldiers deep beneath the mountain. Layer after layer of polished metal disappeared above them, until daylight became nothing more than a distant memory. Instead, glowing blue crystals embedded in the walls illuminated tunnels that looked far too advanced to belong to a civilization thousands of years old. Ethan scanned the walls with a portable analyzer. "These alloys don't match your current technology." "They do not," Lysera replied. "Our ancestors found this place. They never claimed to have built it." "That somehow makes me feel less comfortable." "You prefer repairing machines built by people who understood them. I prefer machines that come with instruction manuals." One engineer looked puzzled. "What is an instruction manual?" Ethan sighed dramatically. "A magical book containing answers that nobody ever reads." Even Lysera smiled. The corridor opened into a chamber so vast that its ceiling disappeared into darkness. In the center floated a metallic sphere the size of a house, surrounded by countless rings rotating silently through the air. Thin streams of blue energy connected the rings like veins carrying liquid light. "No wonder your satellites are confused," Ethan whispered. "This thing is their central synchronization core." The sphere suddenly rotated. Every scanner in the room screamed at once. A calm mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. "Unknown biological signatures confirmed." The soldiers immediately raised their weapons. Ethan slowly lowered one rifle. "I don't think threatening a machine older than recorded history is a brilliant opening conversation." "It has noticed us," one soldier whispered. "Well, we are standing in its living room." The metallic sphere projected thousands of glowing symbols into the air. None of them matched any known language. Lysera stepped forward, her long ears twitching slightly as she studied the symbols. "Our historians cannot translate this script." Ethan frowned. "It isn't a written language." "It is not." "No." He watched the symbols rearrange themselves into repeating mathematical patterns. "It's code." Before anyone could respond, his analyzer automatically connected to the ancient signal. Its screen flashed once. Then every symbol transformed. The floating projections became readable. "Authorized maintenance engineer detected." Ethan blinked. "I don't work here." "Welcome back." The room became perfectly silent. One scientist nearly dropped his tablet. Lysera slowly turned toward Ethan. "You have visited this place before." "No." The machine continued speaking. Last maintenance cycle, 10,842 years. Overdue by 10,841 years. Ethan laughed nervously. I promise I'm not that old. The sphere ignored him. Planetary defense status, critical, hostile extragalactic fleet estimated arrival. The machine paused, its light briefly flickered. 37 standard days, every smile vanished. The room felt colder. That isn't possible, one officer said quietly. Our long-range sensors detect nothing. They probably can't, Ethan answered, staring at the ancient display. Whatever built this network could see much farther than your technology. A low vibration rolled through the chamber. The rotating rings accelerated. Suddenly, dozens of floating drones unfolded from hidden compartments inside the sphere. Unlike modern machines, these had smooth silver bodies with no visible engines or weapons. They circled Ethan once. Then, to everyone's complete astonishment, they formed two perfectly even lines. Every drone lowered itself simultaneously. It looked unmistakably like a respectful bow. One young soldier whispered in disbelief, "First the general. Now ancient machines are honoring the human." Ethan scratched the back of his head. I was hoping today would be less weird than yesterday. Lysera folded her arms. I believe the universe has rejected that request. No one spoke for nearly a minute. The silver drones remained perfectly still, hovering with their heads lowered toward Ethan as though they had been waiting centuries for his arrival. He glanced over his shoulder. They know I'm not the engineer they're expecting, right? One drone emitted a cheerful chime. I'll take that as a terrifying maybe. Lysera stepped beside him, towering over everyone in the chamber. Her long ears tilted slightly forward as she studied the floating machines. You are not afraid. I am absolutely afraid. You hide it well. I've discovered panic burns fewer calories if you keep it on the inside. That earned another faint smile from her. The central sphere brightened, and a beam of blue light swept across the room. Three-dimensional star maps bloomed into existence, filling the enormous chamber with thousands of glowing constellations. Several stars suddenly vanished. Red lines spread across the projection like cracks through glass. Warning: defense grid at 31%. Outer observation stations offline. Cause: the words dissolved into static. Then another message appeared. Internal sabotage detected. Every officer exchanged uneasy glances. One of us, a scientist, whispered. Lysera's expression hardened. Our people have guarded these generators for generations. The machine isn't accusing your entire civilization, Ethan replied quietly. It's saying someone deliberately damaged the network. Before anyone could respond, one of the silver drones darted toward a nearby wall. It projected a narrow beam across the ancient metal. Hidden seams appeared. A concealed doorway slowly emerged from the stone. I don't suppose anyone knew that was there, Ethan asked. 6 soldiers answered simultaneously. No. Well, Ethan sighed. Secret rooms are rarely a good sign. The doorway opened with a deep mechanical hum. Cold air poured into the chamber. Unlike the pristine corridors outside, this passage was scarred with melted metal and blackened walls. Strange claw marks stretched across the floor. They're ancient, one engineer observed. Ethan knelt beside one of the marks. These weren't made by tools. What made them? I don't know. He looked farther down the corridor. And that sentence usually ruins my week. The group advanced carefully. Small blue lights awakened one after another overhead, illuminating shattered machines scattered across the passage. Most appeared identical to the friendly drones outside. These were destroyed, Lysera said. Not just destroyed. Ethan pointed toward precise circular holes through their centers. Every power core was removed. By whom? I'd love to interview them. They reached a circular chamber, where dozens of empty sockets lined the walls. At the center stood a transparent pillar containing a single floating crystal. It pulsed weakly. Ethan approached slowly. This crystal controlled communication between orbital stations. So if someone damaged it, they blinded an entire planetary defense system. A sudden metallic click echoed behind them. The chamber doors slammed shut, heavy locks engaged. Every light shifted from blue to crimson. A calm synthetic voice filled the room. Security protocol activated. Unauthorized LIFEFORMS present. Commencing purge sequence. Ethan closed his eyes. I officially missed the marriage misunderstanding. Lysera calmly drew the enormous sword from her back. I was wondering when our day would become exciting. You and I have very different definitions of exciting. Somewhere beyond the sealed doors, dozens of mechanical footsteps began marching toward them through the darkness. The marching grew louder with every passing second. Metal struck metal in perfect rhythm, echoing through the sealed chamber until even the crystal floating at its center vibrated. Ethan looked around for an escape. There has to be an emergency exit. Lysera rested the enormous sword on one shoulder. I suspect the emergency is arriving through the front door. That is uncomfortably logical. The first blast door buckled inward. A silver hand punched through solid alloy. Then another. With a deafening crash, the entire door collapsed. 12 mechanical guardians marched into the chamber. Unlike the graceful drones they had seen before, these machines were heavily armored. Their eyes burned crimson, and strange black veins spread across their polished bodies as though some foreign technology had infected them. The synthetic voice echoed again. Foreign contamination detected. Ethan pointed at himself. I know I'm not from around here, but that feels a little rude. The nearest guardian raised an energy spear. Lysera stepped in front of him without hesitation. You remain behind me. I was already planning that. The machine lunged. Lysera's sword met the spear in a burst of blue sparks. The impact shook the chamber, but instead of retreating she drove forward, forcing the giant machine backward several meters. Another guardian attacked from her left. Ethan noticed glowing cables running beneath the floor toward the machines. Wait. Nobody heard him. The soldiers opened fire. Energy bolts splashed harmlessly against ancient armor. They're shielded. One engineer shouted, Then what do we do? Ethan grabbed a portable maintenance probe from his belt. We stop thinking like soldiers. He slid beneath another guardian, just as its blade carved through the air above him. I am officially too old for heroic sliding. The probe connected to one of the glowing floor conduits. Instantly, streams of data flooded his visor. These machines aren't controlling themselves. They are not. Lysera called while knocking another guardian into a wall. No, someone rewrote their command network. He traced the signal. Instead of coming from the chamber, it disappeared deeper beneath the mountain. There's another control center. How far? I don't know. Whoever built this place clearly hated maps. One guardian suddenly abandoned the fight. Its crimson eyes flickered blue. Then it turned and attacked another corrupted machine. The friendly drone from earlier floated through the broken doorway, projecting pulses of white light across the guardians. It hacked one. Ethan laughed. I like this little guy. The drone chirped proudly. Never compliment machines, one frightened scientist warned. Why? Perhaps they also consider it a marriage proposal. Even Lysera laughed at that. Together, the restored guardian and Lysera pushed the remaining machines back. Within minutes, the chamber fell silent except for the hum of damaged circuits. The surviving guardian lowered its weapon before Ethan. A holographic map appeared above its hand. Unlike the previous projections, this one highlighted a hidden route descending far below the known generator levels. One point flashed repeatedly. Unknown command source. Hostile access confirmed. Ethan stared at the map. So the sabotage isn't ancient. Lysera nodded slowly. No. He looked toward the endless tunnel leading into darkness. Someone is still down there. The lights overhead flickered once. Far beneath the mountain, something enormous answered with a low mechanical roar that no machine in the chamber recognized. The hidden route descended beneath the generator. Ethan walked beside Lysera while the restored guardian projected a map that changed. Your ancestors built moving corridors. They did not build this place. That remains deeply unhelpful. The passage opened into a cavern containing a buried starship. Black cables linked it to the defense network. Lysera's long ears tilted back. That vessel bears no known insignia. Ethan scanned it, because it isn't from this galaxy. A section of hull unfolded. A figure emerged in translucent armor filled with smoke, its face concealed behind a smooth mask. Maintenance designation confirmed, it said. The lost architect has returned. I'm tired of being mistaken for dead people. The figure raised one hand. Every black cable ignited. Orbital satellites began shutting down. Lysera drew her sword. Stop the sequence. You mistake ownership, the stranger replied. This world was seated as a listening post. Its inhabitants were never meant to inherit it. Ethan connected his probe to the floor. Data flooded his visor. Invasion coordinates, dormant weapons beneath the capital, and energy channels through the planet's core. The fleet was not coming to conquer Kairos. It was coming to activate it. This entire planet is a weapon, Ethan whispered, and you are its key. Lysera stepped between them. He is not yours. Bonding claim detected. Primitive ceremonial contract. Ethan glanced at her. Even ancient invaders know about the marriage. Your embarrassment has achieved intergalactic distribution. The stranger released a wave of dark energy. Lysera blocked it, but the force drove her backward. Ethan rerouted power through the Guardian. The friendly drone shot into the starship and stole command codes. Now, Ethan shouted. Lysera charged. Her blade split the stranger's armor. Beneath the mask flashed a moving field of stars. Foreign control interrupted. Defense grid restored, 42%. The stranger dissolved into black particles and rushed back into the ship. 31 days remain, its voice echoed. Prepare the weapon or be consumed by it. The vessel sealed itself. Lysera lowered her sword. The council will demand answers. I have one. What is it? We postponed the wedding until after we stop the planet from becoming a cannon. She considered this reasonable. The drone projected 2 interlocked moons and played a cheerful wedding melody. Ethan stared at it. I preferred it when the machines were trying to kill us. 31 days later, the sky above Kairos filled with ships. They emerged beyond the moons as black shapes surrounded by fractured light, each vessel bending space around itself. From the palace observatory, Ethan watched the ancient defense grid flicker across the planet. 58%, an engineer reported. That sounds encouraging, Ethan said. It means nearly half the system remains broken. Then please stop explaining percentages. Below the capital, Lysera commanded the planetary forces while the Royal Council gathered around the central control chamber. For weeks, Ethan had connected forgotten satellites, repaired buried reactors, and taught ancient machines to accept modern components. In return, the machines had taught him that sleep was apparently optional. The hostile fleet transmitted one demand: activate the planetary weapon. Lysera looked at Ethan. Can they force it? Yes. Silence spread through the chamber. Unless we erase the original command system. One counselor stiffened. That system controls our shields. It also turns your world into a cannon capable of tearing open a star. Then what remains if we destroy it? Ethan looked toward the engineers, soldiers, and scientists who had once believed only ancient traditions could protect them. We build something new. The council hesitated. Lysera stepped forward. He came here as a stranger. He found the truth our ancestors feared to question. I trust him. Ethan glanced up at her. That sounded suspiciously romantic. We may all die shortly. I am allowed one speech. The council approved the plan. As enemy weapons charged, Ethan linked every generator directly to the orbital grid. Lysera placed both hands on the biological control pillars, allowing her neural pattern to stabilize the alien technology. Human logic and Kairosi bioenergy flowed together. The defense system resisted. Authorized architect required. Ethan entered a final command. Architects are overrated. The friendly drone chirped in agreement. The ancient core collapsed into white light. For one terrible second, every shield vanished. Then thousands of satellites awakened, not as a weapon, as a network. Their energy joined above Cairo's, forming a luminous sphere around the planet. The enemy fired, but the beams curved across the shield and returned toward the invading fleet. Ships scattered in panic before retreating into deep space. The chamber erupted in cheers. The council abolished the forced marriage law that same evening. Historical records proved the ancient phrase had never meant ownership, only admiration freely returned. Weeks later, Ethan stood on the repaired landing platform with his travel case beside him. Lysera approached without armor. She still towered over him, her long ears catching the cold wind. "You are leaving. My contract is finished." She nodded, though disappointment crossed her face. Ethan looked toward the stars, then back at the woman who had carried transports, fought ancient machines, and trusted him with her world. "I was careless the first time I called you beautiful." Lysera's eyes narrowed playfully, a dangerous human habit. "This time I understand the meaning." The drone floated between them and began recording. Ethan sighed. Of course it did. He took Lysera's hand. "You are beautiful, and if the offer still exists, I would like to marry you." She smiled slowly. "Are you certain?" "No, but I've learned certainty is less important than choosing together." Lysera lifted him from the ground and kissed him while soldiers cheered across the platform. The drone played the wedding melody. Ethan looked at it over her shoulder. "Keep that recording." The machine chirped. For once, he had no desire to delete the day.